If you're overwhelmed by your workspace or work environment because it's in disorder and disarray, you're going to want to watch this video. Many times when it comes to our work, we like to jump in and start doing stuff to fulfill what it is we need to do. And when it's time to end, we like to rush out and clock out. But the reality is, we need to organize the chaos in our work environment because it affects our emotions, productivity, and our ability to show up in a way where we can accomplish what we need to accomplish and interact well with others in the process. So it's time to get our life in order when it comes to our work environment and up our game so we can be fit for what we're called to be. Let's get it. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Michael Kilpatrick, and if you're new here, this is my channel for Fitness by Digits, a business equipping leaders to acquire greater levels of success and impact in their areas of influence through wellness and organization. I'm a pastor and coach, and I am here to help you get fit for what you're called to be in your areas of influence. Many people operate off of the mindset that I'll just do it later or I'll get to it tomorrow, when the reality is that very often does not happen or occur. And this mindset is most prevalent when it comes to our workspace or work environment. So in this video, we're going to discuss what it looks like to bring order to the chaos in our work environment and discover what it looks like to maintain that order so that we can have greater levels of productivity and be able to show up in excellence in what it is we're called to be. First, let's get you started by establishing and creating routines for when you start and finish your day. One of the things you need to think about is, what actions and steps do I need to take immediately when I walk in the door or begin to get started? Is it putting your lunch away, putting up your coat, opening your email, discovering what important things you need to do for the day, establishing your priorities? Think through what things are important for you to establish and create as routines to begin your day so that you're not rushing into things and causing more chaos when you enter your workspace. Now, let's look at your closing routines. What things do you need to have in your routines to make sure that when you end the day, you're able to come in the next day on a clean slate? Is it wiping down your workspace, making sure everything is put up, making sure that you have things set up for the next day? Think through your processes to make sure your closing routines help prep you for the beginning of your next day, and your beginning routines help you seamlessly continue and approach tasks, responsibilities, and obligations throughout your day. Next, let's deal with the messy middle. What systems and operations do you need to maintain to make sure that you're able to seamlessly go from one task, responsibility, or obligation to the next, to the point where at the end of your day, it's not such a pileup that you're not able to follow through with your closing routines that you've already established? Many times what happens is we don't use a filing system or the discipline to put things away when we're done with one task before moving on to the next, and end up getting overwhelmed by the chaos and disorder in our work environment, and we end up not addressing it until we find a brief moment, and even in that, we just shove it to the side. So it's important that if you're going to organize and maintain the chaos in your work environment or workspace, that you identify the systems and operations you're going to follow through with so that order can be maintained and you don't create a pileup to where your other routines are now affected to the point where you don't follow through with them. Next, let's put an end to working up until the last second. You have to implement transitional time into how you go about your day. If you don't, you're going to wreck and destroy the systems and routines you just established. It's important that, for example, when you get to work, you get there early so that you have transitional time to put things away, identify your priorities, and get into what it is you need to do instead of feeling the pressure to catch up because you got there on time or late. It looks like implementing transitional time at the end of the day so you're actually able to wrap up, put things away, clean up, and prep for the next day instead of feeling like you're pressured to rush out to the door because you have to get to the next thing. It looks like you implementing transitional time at the end of certain tasks and responsibilities so that work doesn't get piled up, so that you're able to file and put things away and be able to move on to the next task without the chaos and distractions of other things being in your way or cluttering your atmosphere. It's important that you implement transitional time and stop working up until the last minute because that's only causing you more stress and overwhelm that you can avoid if you just implement the time to allow yourself to transition more smoothly and seamlessly from one thing to the next. Getting more on getting your life in order when it comes to your work environment and workspace in a moment. I want to know from you, what do you find most challenging when it comes to bringing and maintaining order in your work environment and workspace? Share in the comments below. Now that you've established your routines and systems and implemented transitional time, you need to now establish and communicate boundaries and expectations to those who enter into your workspace. Many times, what happens is people come into our work environment and workspace, and routines and systems are kind of undone, and we find ourselves even more overwhelmed by the mess or things that need to get back in order once they leave. Now, there is grace, there is some adjustment needed here, but you can still communicate and allow others to help you maintain your systems and routines by just communicating and setting those expectations. If you're not a teacher, it's time to think like one. Where do things go before moving on to the next task or before we depart or move on to the next thing? How is that communicated? When people come into or are engaged in our atmosphere and work environment, it's important that we actually communicate what expectations and boundaries we have so that our systems and routines aren't derailed and we don't find ourselves even more overwhelmed and having to recuperate once people leave. It's okay to share, hey, can you help me clean this up? Hey, can you put this back here before you leave? Set those boundaries and expectations so that you don't have so much pressure on you when it's time to transition or close out for the day. Last but most importantly, let's address the atmosphere of your workspace and work environment. When you get to work, it is important that you set the atmosphere. This is another reason why it is a great idea to get to work early. Whether it's you being able to pray and set the atmosphere, have worship music, allow yourself to transition into the space and invite God's presence to magnify in your area of influence. You need to incorporate these things because it affects how you're able to engage others and start your day effectively. When it comes to the end of the day, maybe instead of rushing out the door, bring closure. Pray. Thank God for the ability to have this job or work and do what it is that God has called you to do. Many times we rush off, but we miss the opportunity, whether the day was really good or really hard, to really be grateful and actually thank God for what it is that He was able to allow you to accomplish and bring Him into the moment of that transition out of what it is you're called to be, where you're working and where you're transitioning to, where God has called you to be in the next thing you're moving on to. On the other side of setting your atmosphere when it comes to your workspace and work environment, you also need to think about the feel and the look. What's the layout of your workspace? What's the decorations going to be? What's the feel you want to go for so that it allows you to feel and be more productive throughout the day and not feel overwhelmed and chaotic in the space you're supposed to be operating in? What smells, what items, what things need to be within your atmosphere and within your reach so that you're able to flow and not feel crushed or burdened by the space you have to work in. What is seen and unseen both affects your workspace and work environment. If you're going to get your life in order when it comes to this area, you're going to want to address both the natural and the spiritual. It is important that you do this because you want to be free to do what it is you're called to be in this space and show up in excellence. So, take the time to address your atmosphere so that you can dominate and acquire the success and impact you desire in where God has called you to be. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed what you heard, you need to stay connected, and you can do so by joining the Fitness by Digits community for free. One of the things that you'll also get for free by joining the community is the Manage Your Schedule planning guide. If you need to organize the chaos in your work environment, you probably also need to organize the chaos in your schedule. And this is a resource that will help you prioritize your wellness and well-being so that you can experience greater levels of success and impact in the areas that God has called you to. So, if you are ready to join this community, be sure to click the link in the description below or visit my website at www.fitnessbydigits.com and click the link to get started today. Thanks again for watching and watching till the end. Be sure to subscribe to my channel for the latest content, and be sure to give this video a thumbs up and share with those who may also enjoy it as well. Be sure to follow me on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and you can find it by searching Fitness by Digits. I enjoyed this opportunity to share with you, and I look forward to joining you again in the next video.